So I was thinking about this conference in the metro this morning, coming here. And it's kind of like going on a date. And it's a date between the EEA and Norway Grants and the EU missions. And I think the name of this panel is the EEA and Norway Grants looking at the EU missions. But I hope it's also the other way around, that the EU missions are checking out the EEA and Norway Grants. And like on any good date, I think there are two important things to think about. It's mutual understanding. Do we understand each other? I think that sometimes we use different concepts to say similar things. So we need to adjust our language and make sure that we understand the meaning behind the concepts. And then secondly, we need to get to know each other in a more profound way, and what our passions are. And I think when it comes to us at the grants, so I'm a sector officer for research and education, so I work with the EEA and Norway Grants on my day-to-day life. I think our passion is our projects. And when we visit our projects and we see what is being done on the ground, that is our passion. And I'm very sure that that in missions you are also very passionate about the things that are happening on the ground on your site. So let me introduce our good panelists in this panel. So I will go in the order I have them on my paper and not here. So first, Agnieszka Radajczak. She is the director at the Department of International Cooperation at the National Center of Research and Development, NCBR, in Poland. So you have extensive experience with international cooperation, and you know of us at the EEA Norway Grants, of course, very well, because you you are the program operator for our applied research program. Ovidiu Kimpean, who is a state secretary at the Ministry of Investments and European Projects in Romania. And I know, Ovidiu, that you are passionate about working together for climate neutral and smart cities in Europe. And I also know that you want impact. You are concerned about impact. So we would like to discuss that and the project and results today. Susanna Dostalova. She is head of the EEA Norway Grants department at Thatcher Technology Agency of the Research Republic. Something happened there with the sound. A little bit further? Yeah. So Thatcher also operates one of our programs, the research program in Czechia. And so Susanna knows our grants thoroughly. I think that you both answer phone calls about very practical things and budget, and also about the big things and what are we doing and why are we doing it. Evangelia Chica, Eva. Eva is policy officer at DG Mare at the European Commission, and she has extensive knowledge of marine and maritime research and innovation under Horizon Europe. And she's also part of the Secretariat for the mission Ocean and Waters. And you participated in one of the events in Portugal on Blue Growth, the midterm event on Blue Growth. And Michal Miedzinski. Michal, you are an economic and policy researcher at the Joint Research Center. You have extensive knowledge on policy analysis and foresight, as well as long-term sustainability. And you participated also in one of the events mentioned, the soil event in Prague. So our goal today in this panel is to explore the opportunities for a further dialogue. So I would like to start asking you, Agnieszka, because you have extensive, like I said before, experience with international funding. And you know us, the grants, very well. So what does the funding landscape look like from your point of view on the ground from one of our beneficiary states?
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So let me maybe start with the current funding period. And since we are talking about synergies today, so I would like to share a few thoughts with the audience, how we started to work with the program that we are now implementing, which is about to end soon, and how we sort of decided to work with the thematic areas and priorities in the program design phase. So first of all, we wanted to find synergies. Of course, we wanted to find some overlapping thematic areas together with our colleagues from the Research Council of Norway. And on our side, we decided to take into consideration the national smart specializations that we used for European funds, ERDF funded programs. And also on the Norwegian side, I think the national priorities in research and innovation were taken into account. So what we ended up with was a pretty neat matrix, I should say, a very elaborate one, but we're very happy because there was a big overlapping area of different thematic areas. And we were happy, first of all, because these were the areas which sort of we knew that received in both countries sort of high political attention, and they were high on the agenda. And of course, we knew that those areas were the areas where the high potential for bilateral cooperation, for new projects, new partnerships, and new collaborations. So this is how we work with the current funding period. Well, in general, at NCBR, well, we are a pretty big agency, probably the biggest one in that part of Europe. So we have very many different sources of funding. We have national funded programs. So we have ERDF funded programs. We have EEA and Norway Grants. We have Swiss contribution. And well, the landscape is very kind of broad, varied, and pretty complex. We also have colleagues from the National Contact Point for Horizon Europe. We have colleagues here in Brussels that represent NCBR and our Polish research and innovation community. So there is a lot of us. And what we try to do, we try to work together and we try to look for synergies so that the landscape is pretty explainable and understandable for potential applicants and then later beneficiaries of all the programs that we fund. So, well, this is actually how we approach things, and we always try to look for synergies and make life easier and more understandable for the potential Polish applicants, also those applicants that seek international partnerships and collaborations.
So you have to navigate a rather complex landscape, both achieving synergies between different funding streams, finding out where does the interest projects in the bilateral sense lie, and also think about the prioritization and the smart specialization and bringing all these together. So let me go over to you, Susanna, because you also know the grants very well. And Thatcher is, of course, operating our research program in Czechia. And in September last year, you were one of the organizers of the SoilCon conference, where we discussed the connection with the mission, the soil mission. So can you tell us, coming from the side of the EEA and Norway Grants, what do the mission, what does this particular mission look like to you, or missions in general, from your perspective, and the potential for bridge building?
Yeah, thank you. Hello. I'm heard well. So maybe I will speak more about the missions in general, not particularly the soil mission itself, because I think we should look at it in like one bigger picture. And like me coming from only like the funding agency environment and working with the EEA Norway Grants, I didn't know the missions that well, and thanks to this the conference that I organized and the other ones that I participated in, I started to learn the landscape of missions, and I found it quite complex and a bit fragmented. We saw that each mission is different, and we didn't know really how to navigate our projects towards the missions. So for the conferences, we picked the projects that are relevant by the topics, by the thematic fit, and we invited them, we informed them about the missions, and we also talked about the funding opportunities that the missions are offering. But then, besides this, it is quite hard to understand what else can be done. How can we implement the missions further? What needs to be done more days for our projects? And maybe this is something that there is a space for more communication, because once we learned about the missions, we've heard a lot of information, but there's not so many practical information how to implement it as on the level of funding agency, for example. What are the options? And I also learned that it very much depends on the national approach, because I organized the conference in Czechia, and there we had the experts like Michal here and some policymakers and some other relevant people. And we learned there, and also I've seen it in some other events, that the missions are not always aligned with the national strategies. Like in Czechia, for example, we have this smart specialization strategy and some national missions that are not in line. And so if we are speaking of synergies today, maybe there should be found synergy there as well between other funding instruments and different strategies in different states. And this actually brought me to a question, and it's just a thought. I didn't do my research, so really just a thought. If this is a case of widening countries, that we don't have this consolidated and systematic approach to missions because we are somewhat like step behind, or we are still working on other things and have other strategies. So if this is the case, this can be explored further, and this can be one of the synergies that can be found for with the missions, because the EEA and grants can help promote the missions in these particular regions. And I see that it's kind of happening already, because we have rather small portfolio of projects, and we see that there are many of them that are already related to the missions. So the need is there somewhere. It's coming from the researchers, it's coming from the people, and the EEA and Norway grants know how to do the bottom-up approach, and we know how to focus on one particular topic. So we can be interested in each other, not just we in missions, but the missions in EEA and Norway grants. So we can work on the same goal, because it kind of exists already there. So let's not just watch it and observe it, but let's channel it to the common goal.
Thank you, Susanna. I think you brought up many important questions that relate very much to what we want to do here today, tomorrow, is to become a little bit more concrete. What do we mean? How do we want to implement further? Where are the connection points? And how can we build on each other's work? You also mentioned more locally, how to think more locally. So I want to give it over to you, Michal, because I think you may have some ideas on this. If you could tell us a little bit your thoughts, your impressions from Prague, and in achieving synergies, maybe between the different funding streams more locally, and maybe you have some reflections on Susanna's questions.
Very much. Thank you for inviting me here. I must admit I've changed my mind several times already what I'm going to say, because we're just 5 minutes, but there's so much. I decided on the following, as there's so much focus on synergies. So first, I might be a little bit provocative, but before I am provocative, let me say I'm speaking on my behalf, not on behalf of the JRC, being mindful of the colleagues from the Commission here. So first, we're talking about synergies, but we are addressing a very complex challenges. So I think we can already agree, we cannot plan ahead for all the synergies. There's no way. Even the most neat matrix will not cut it. I mean, I'm a big fan of matrices, but we know that reality proves way more complex. So let me put it out there. that in order for this sort of initiatives to be more effective, we need two things. We do need some sort of strategic framework with an overall direction. And I think missions are an excellent instruments to provide this, because they are not only technical direction, they also have a link to more, well, let's put it, political drive, right? That can mobilize people. On the other hand, if we go down to the implementation, there is a need for agility. And one of the introductory speakers mentioned this, that perhaps Norway grants are it's easier for Norway grants to be a little bit more agile and flexible on the grant. And I think that if we bring these two, the overall framework with a direction, plus some agility on the grant and implementation, that allows, first of all, to make sense locally of what these missions mean. And I think there's a lot of need for sense making still, not just taking what is written in the documents, but actually really reflecting what does it mean for me, my city, river catchment, wider macro region, whatever. And then once we understand the context in which the missions act, then we might have a chance to think about how synergies appear, because let me repeat, the synergies will never happen because they're planned for. The synergies are made because the people on the ground have capability to make it happen. We can have the most beautiful programs that fit together. If the capabilities on the ground across different governance levels is not there, they will not materialize. And I think on the point of local level, at the JRC, I work at the territorial development unit, and so we look at this sort of issues through the territorial lens. So we are very sensitive to the question: what is the geography of missions? What is the territorial articulation of these missions? We heard already, different challenges are different. They need to be addressed differently for obvious reasons. Cancer is very different than climate adaptation, but they're also very different in different places. Again, if we don't consider it seriously, how are we going to find synergies? So I'll stop here. I hope looking at my commission colleagues. No, all good? Very good.
Thank you. I think this is a very important point. It's an exercise of scaling. You have to move between the different levels, and the contexts on all the different levels matter, be it on the political level or on the level of the countries and locally, as you say. Very important points. I would like to come back. I forgot to mention, Agnieszka, of course, the NCPR, you organized one of the mission conferences that we held last year on climate and climate neutral and smart cities. Ovidio, you have an example which links together the cities, as well as this discussion about acting locally, all the while creating a network, an international network. So you have an example that perhaps shows us a direction, because it's a concrete example of how we can work together on a specific mission. Can you tell us about this example?
Yes, thank you very much. So I saw in Romania the same problems that my previous speakers presented, and we thought that it's important, for example, for achieving the Green Deal objectives, not to leave European Commission alone. Thank you very much, Philippe Frassard and Laura Hettel, for helping so much the cities in order to achieve climate neutrality. So we saw that with the national budget, we need to have also this approach on helping the European missions. And we started a cooperation between 5 ministries, and together we aim to have a financement of 1 billion euros in order to support the 3 cities, Romanian cities that are part of the EU mission, but also to launch a mirror mission in Romania to select another 10 cities that will have to achieve climate neutrality by 2035. And of course, with the EEA and Norway grants, we are having the first 3 million euros from that 1 billion euros. So we still have to reach 997 million euros in order to achieve this goal. But I think it's a good start. So we had 2 projects of cooperation between Romania and EEA member states, so Norway, Iceland, and Luxembourg. And one is at the national level, Iceland, yes. One is at the national level in order to build this mirror mission in order to select another 10 cities. And one is for the cities, the 3 cities that are already in the mission. And the aim is to enhance the cooperation between Cluj-Napoca, Suceava, Bucharest Sector 2, with Reykjavik, Oslo, Trondheim, and Stavanger, that all these cities are part already of the European mission climate and neutral cities by 2030. So I think that these 2 projects are a very good start, and on the next programming period, we will continue this cooperation. We didn't select only the public sector for cooperating, only municipalities, but we looked also at enhancing cooperation between civil society, and we are having a youth association from Romania and from Norway or Iceland, and also we have a lot of partners at the research level. So big universities from Romania, Science and Technical University of Norway, or Institute of Urbanism and Landscape from Oslo. So we think that research and innovation is also an important pillar for achieving this goal. So with all these partners and with these 2 projects, I'm sure that we will be more advanced in the near future for achieving these goals. We already launched a methodology and a platform for selecting the 10 cities, and this week I hope that we will launch, we will announce the jury, which I think till now we have some discussion with outstanding experts at the European level. It will be an international jury, and in 15 October we will have those 10 Romanian cities that will be selected to achieve this climate neutrality by 2035, together with the 3 cities that are already in the mission.
And if I can ask you one short follow-up question, what is the main value that you see in collaborating with partners from the donor states?
So I think that, for example, organization from donor states, they have a lot of experience in achieving climate neutrality or in green projects, and also Romanian, they are organization, they are starting to have some achievements and good examples, and I think that this type of exchange will help both parts to advance this climate neutrality in cities, but also to become more resilient, because I saw that also resilience is one of the aims of the programs and is the aims of Romania itself also.
Thank you, Ovidio. Eva, you, as I said before, we have had discussions several times, and you participated in the EEA Grants Blue Growth Program midterm event in Porto in October. Also having listened to your fellow panelists, what are your impressions after Porto, after listening to the discussions, having the discussions with us, and what potential synergies do you see?
Thank you, Hostis. So I had also didn't set up my mind what I'm going to say, but now it is even better because we are a great panel. It's very diverse angles of the same topic, and this is very useful, actually. So I will give the 2 perspectives connected to the Porto event. But first, just to say a fun fact that when I saw, for the language that you mentioned before, when I saw the email, it was very fast, and I saw EEA, and I didn't even read through, and I thought it was the European Environment Agency. So it's I said to my colleagues, will we go there? Who can go? So, and then I realized, and I started checking, because honestly, myself, I wasn't aware of what you are doing. And then I came to Porto, and to my great surprise, is very relevant. And the projects that were presented there by your colleague got me thinking, we need to talk, because literally what you are presenting here and what we are trying to do through the mission Ocean and Waters, funded through Horizon or the other programs, is on the common line. So we started a discussion, a very informal one, with your colleague, and then she brought you in, and I brought my colleague, and we are in this kind of chatting right now to figure out the specific ways that we can do it, and that it can reach the political level that we need to have this common line, because I do believe that it can be at least a common goal. We have the European Green Deal. It was mentioned at the beginning as well. We are all looking at that direction. So we can have this type of the political part looking at the same way. On the practical point of view that you mentioned, while we were at the event there were questions from the audience, and then I made a question to the audience about if they see these synergies being operational, how do they perceive it? And there were two cases that the projects were funded from one instrument, and they were kind of continued to higher technological readiness level from another instrument. And this is, with this, I just want to say that this is a synergy for me. This is something concrete, something we can build on in the practical level. So I think that the beneficiaries and the people you work with, they know, and you know better which solutions can be scaled up, which solutions can be replicated elsewhere, and how we can become more specific. And then in the political level, we are trying from our level to inform that we are targeting the same direction, and we should find the way to align how we fund projects, or how we can make it even more functional and more effective. And it was mentioned in the video for the Mission Ocean and Waters, our way of being aware on having in our radar what else is going on besides what is funded through Horizon Europe program, for instance, is this charter. Because when we know it, we are doing our best to give these opportunities and to facilitate these exchanges that will bring the synergies and operationalize them even better. I don't know if I go to theoretical. I'm trying to be practical, because I have the this impact driven logic in my head. I don't know if I express it very well, but I do see it. I see that we can do it. We have launched recently a Blue Champion scheme, and we have invited, okay, the charter has different actions, but we have informed them that this is going on, and if them or their partners had investment needs or loans, and they have already secured funded, we have collaboration with the European Investment Bank. So we're trying to give opportunities there to the actions that we know, and of course, the information is always publicly available, but we're trying to be as concrete as possible and to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. Yes, we had the same issue with the European education area. There have been some misunderstandings as well with that. No, I like what you say. We need to talk. That is why we're here. And I think that you are bringing us down to a concrete level. And we have prepared some examples, just a few examples of, because now we are seeing the results as this funding period is coming to an end. And we very much want to share those examples with you and see if already there we can have discussions on on concrete actions and localized actions, more functional, more effective, I agree, for impact. So I think that our time is up, and thank you for a very, very good discussion.